Thanks, Isha, for setting the context and introducing the esteemed panelists. Let me extend a warm welcome to the online audience and panelists. Today's topic for discussion is very relevant for the insurance industries, and today's virtual event is a testimony of the speed of change that we are seeing. Some of the trends that we have been listening across various industries, including the insurance industry, are zero contact sales, customer centric digital processes, new business models, ecosystem partnerships, new products, blockchain, wearable devices, drones, insurtechs, etc. Intelligent automation, RPA plus data plus AI, ML, cloud services beyond infrastructure, edge computing, quantum computing, and we can go on that. But not taking more time, there are multiple initiatives which are happening, but the conundrum for the insurance companies to manage the business as well as adapt to the tech trends. So let me directly go to the panelists and start with the discussions and hear their perspective on how they are going to manage this. So the first question to the panelists, which I'm going to put, is what are the top three tech trends which you believe will have a major impact on growth and innovation in the industry? And let me go to Gautam. So Gautam, over to you.
Hey, thanks, Asim. Thanks, Asim. And welcome to everyone here. Some of my good friends I'm seeing digitally after a long time. I'm happy with that. Tech trend, we had always been looking forward for technology stack, which kind of helps us to build our story nicely for our partner and customer. But last 8-9 months, what has happened is, it kind of reopened the door to make our systems, our interfaces, much more intelligent, much more do-it-yourself enabled. So if you ask me from the trend point of view, and particularly from BALIC's point of view, we see enormous opportunity that has already been started, and we have already started taking the benefit of it in terms of making our systems intelligent. And when we talk about intelligent, we will have a chat a little later on that. Primarily 3-4 things that comes to play. One is industry API, which kind of makes you very quickly very intelligent. Second is your in-house or maybe partner-driven analytics. That also makes you very intelligent in terms of preempting something for customers, for partners. And third, and the big chapter that has come up very widely to all of us, is the world of AI and ML. So to my mind, these are the three broad areas that one would be very clearly and eagerly looking after to make their systems, their interactions intelligent.
Thanks, Gautam. That's quite insightful. Intelligence, yes, that we are focusing. Over to you, Mr. Chakra. What's your viewpoint on the key trends?
Thanks, Asim. I think, Gautam touched upon one of them, AI/ML. And I think, while data analytics is core to insurance business, where it's changing is the adoption across the entire value chain, be it sales, operations, claims, and most importantly, customer journeys. A lot of it largely remains offline today. Imagine as a customer, you can talk to Alexa and instantly purchase your home or motor or even a complicated health insurance policy using voice or speech analytics, or maybe settle a motor claim without any human intervention using computer vision. I think these are the places where data analytics will move further and embed that into a real-time flow. The second trend is use of drones and aerial imagery. During the recent cyclone Amphan in West Bengal and coastal Odisha, we were able to use the images captured by drones through aerial imagery and apply AML on top of it to make meaningful assessment of damage and settle claims in 7 days within the pandemic. This was across large power plants, buildings, coffee plantations that we were able to do. And I think going forward, adding geospatial, weather, and other satellite data, third-party data can be a game changer. The third one, and I think we'll talk about this in more detail, is the proliferation of connected devices and IoTs, adoption of smart cars, homes, factories, machines, all that are generating data. Also, wearables from a health and wellness side. They provide a lot of opportunities for innovative products and services.
No, thanks. It looks quite exciting and also the practical examples of it. So let me just move to Sanjay Karnatak. What's your view on this, Sanjay?
Thanks, Asim. Yep, the views coming out to be similar. Of course, AI is going to be big in the coming years for sure. And so far, insurers as well as the BFSI players have been using AI primarily for predictive analytics. I think the cognitive part of it, which is based on deep learning, CNNs, that will gain more and more traction. Maybe if some people are exploring it right now, they might be doing it with human in the loop kind of situation. But I predict that maybe in next 2 to 3 years, it will be the autonomous decision making will be the key factor which AI will be powering. Of course, we are in our organization also we are trying to look into all those aspects and try to take that step forward. Second, RPA. RPA has already given benefits to a lot of organizations in terms of cost savings or the quality, objectives, meeting them. What I feel is that now people will also start looking at, overhauling the processes. Right now, they have, automated the existing process as it is. But I think the making the process itself more intelligent and customer centric, I think that part will tag along very well with RPA in the coming days. And a quick one that to meet all these objectives, the two more things which are basic, foundational, but I think all at least life insurers have to do in India is that the core modernization or making their core ready to be able to exchange data, to exchange APIs. I think that's one area which everybody will have to work upon in the coming years if we have to make these data hungry projects successful. So that's what my take is.
Thanks, Sanjay. You brought a very good perspective that along with the new technologies, the core modernization is also very important. So let me move to Mr. Ganessan, his viewpoint on this.
Hi, thanks, Asim. I'm very happy to be a part of the esteemed panel. See, the way we are looking at here is, if you look at the insurance industry, the way the digitization has happened, the right from onboarding, servicing, and the ecosystem integration were all kind of digitized already. But what we are seeing as a kind of trend now here is the collaboration platform is being leveraged to handle the pre-sales part, which is nothing but you interact with the customers and how it was always a phygital kind of process where the intermediary or the agent would meet the customer, and that is how the discussion was happening. Once there is an interest from the customer, then rest of things were always digitized. But what we have seen in the past 6 months or 7 months here is that particular part from a phygital model going completely into digital is what we are seeing as a trend. And there are the collaboration, for example, as you said, Asim, today we are all on the Zoom call. The acceptability is there. We are able to appreciate this particular technology. And I think the same thing is what there are solutions that we are placing around this particular concept where you would be in a position to discuss with the customer, engage and share in terms of documentation or any of the screens that you would like to share. And solutions across the pre-sales area is becoming a faster trend for us as of now. That I think is something which we are rolling out. We are bringing that particular aspect in almost all the areas, right from the pre-sales as well as onboarding. And this particular thing is becoming a part of integral solution for us. That's one thing which we are seeing as a strong trend. The second one, what we are looking at here is in terms of the contactless theme is something which is getting prominent now. For example, how do I engage with a customer where I can, in the absence of a medical test, in the absence of my ability to go and collect the documents, how I would be in a position to leverage the ecosystem, how I can bring analytics in such a way that I can engage with this customer, would be in a position to offer the product and get this particular thing in a seamless onboarding kind of thing. So that particular trend is what we are picking it up. Whatever the contactless team in terms of pre-approved sum assured, or in terms of past where the case where we do the customer segmentation, we would roll out the things up that way. Now we are looking at something like hyper personalization, and things can be efficiently done for the customer in terms of onboarding and servicing. The another one that we are looking at here is though the platform was always there for the customers to interface either in terms of portal or in terms of WhatsApp or in terms of bot and all. The self-service adoption was not that high earlier. So we are, as the team told, in terms of leveraging the AI and ML, we are working around the solution to. We are anyway seeing an increased adoption, increased self-help kind of thing. We are building the thing. We are again rolling out solutions around those things. So these are 3-4 trends that I'm seeing, and we are leveraging based on whatever has happened in the last 7 or 8 months.
Thank you, Mr. Ganessan, because collaboration is one very good, useful insight you have brought out. Now, let me just move to the other side of the table. So, Mr. Rana Biswas, coming from providing technology solutions to insurance companies. So, what is his view on the tech trends that he is seeing in the market? Over to you, Mr. Rana.
Thanks, Asim. I think the panelist, my esteemed panelist, has kind of laid down the roadmap here, and most of the points have been covered. But to my mind, I think what Ganessan mentioned, rapid digitalization across the entire insurance value chain, that's something which is really predominant. And this is obviously driven by the customer experience, or to take the customer experience to the next level. So basically, a big driver is customer centricity on the digitalization piece. The second, to my mind, is migration to the cloud from an on-prem model. I think we see a lot of cloud migration. So now cloud migration is a baseline for every modern system, but it is also a great enabler. Now, the capabilities from cloud, as you are aware, could be horizontal or vertical. So as people mentioned here, horizontal is AI and ML that can be deployed across the insurance value chain and the existing system for insurers. While vertical capabilities like data lake can be set up quickly to enable for instance, the analytics function within the organization and give them a playground for building their models. The last but not the least, I think very critical is adoption of data analytics to understand the existing and prospective customer behavior. I think that's the key. And this will provide insights to critical drivers and influences of their purchase patterns, which includes renewals. Now, these insights will further drive product innovation and sales strategies that are aligned to the customer needs. So these three, I think, to my mind, are the biggest trends that I observe from, as you mentioned, the other side of the table.
Thank you, Rana. And I think that quite a few themes are emerging out of this initial question. So now let me further dwell with the panelists on these themes. So let me start with Goutam and AI/ML. So that's a very common theme which came across from all the panelists, leveraging data, leveraging analytics across the value chain of servicing the customer. So Goutam, over to you. How has been the industry leveraging it in the areas? What is the future that you see, and what is the potential of it?
So before I answer, let me put a couple of things in the context. Technology had always been there in some shape and form. Adoption had always been there in some speed and pace. In last couple of quarters, what happened is every one of us faced the need of upgrading our systems so that it can mimic human behavior. Now, when you say human behavior, there are enough of intelligence that goes in a simple interaction, simple form collection, simple form filling, simple discussion, couple of questions you ask, I answer, or I ask, you answer. If you see it in a little dispassionately, all of that are extremely complicated if you want to automate them. And that's where the concept of intelligence come into play. in our systems, because now with COVID, and this is primarily because of COVID, otherwise also it was on our agenda, but I think COVID actually pushed it extremely hard. It is in our agenda now very clearly across board that whenever my system interacts with my customer or my partner, it interacts as if I am interacting with him or the brand interacting with him. Yeah, every brand has got its own ethos and texture. With that, brand wants to go. For BALIC, the way we see this intelligence part, the way it is playing out is in two separate part of it. One is the customer and partner interfacing part of it, which is where certain degree of AI, ML, and analytics works. And the second part is a bit of back end, where how do I predict who would renew and who would have concern in renewal? How do I go back with a kind of a ready-made pre-offer to that person with a certain set of data that I have mutually collected? Yeah. How do I place it to him in Hindi or in English or in some other vernacular language? At what time, through what medium do I reach out to him? All of these are a little bit of back end that kind of gives you a digital intelligence before you actually start the initiation of the interaction. And that part, plus there are early death claim, fraud analytics, all of these had always been there, but now it has taken a very nice shape with the help of lots of data analytics, a bit of structured, unstructured, semi-structured data that you kind of extract insight from and prepare your backend ready with these insights. Now let's come to the forefront. What's happening in the forefront? Forefront is a completely different story. It's experience, it's ease, it has to also involve a bit of trust between the brand and the customer. So what do you do? How do you do it? And that's where the whole game of so if I'm doing a KYC, let me give you an example, because then it becomes a little more easier for all of us to assess it. In a KYC, earlier you used to carry your PAN card or Aadhaar card and you sit across to me and I used to do certain things and KYC is done. But now that's probably not possible. Hence, I give you a screen. In front of the screen you stand and your image comes up. Now I need to understand whether it's really that person. Then I need to understand whether it's really that human being. Then I need to understand whether this is a living being or not. All of that, when a human does an interaction with you, happens in a fraction of a second. It does not require all this, because now that you're talking a system to do all this, you got to have these intelligence there to create that customer experience. Or you are trying to do a form filling in my application and you got stuck. Now that happens with every one of us. We got stuck, not because we don't know, but just because we want certain clarification. How do I do it? But at the same time, you really do not want to share all the data with me. You want to share the data with the organization. So you really want to protect that data from a person, Goutam Datta, but want to share it with BALIC. Now, this is how you would actually fill up a form. But in today's world, how do you do that? So there we came up with a very interesting feature called Smart Assist. So whenever you are filling up a form, you can actually hook me in. And in a very contextual manner, I will get in and try to take you through the journey. Like that. So, for us, intelligence is the keyword for the organization as well as for the interaction with my partner, with my customer. And whenever in whatever interface that is happening, how can I make it in a way that it is intelligent, it is easy, and it is possibly very smooth. Now, we all understand life insurance has got its own complications. Any other business has got its own complications. Within that complication, without diluting the controls, we have initiated the journey, and hopefully we are going well on that. Too many other newer and exciting things would be coming on this from our side. I'm sure the industry is also working on that. bit of play from from regulator may also would help to make the ecosystem little more interesting and little more intelligent by implying, let's say, blockchain or stuff like that. But that's a matter of little bit of future, and I'm very hopeful that that's also in the card to make the ecosystem also a little more smarter. That's from my side.
No, thanks, Gautam. And you brought very interesting thing, using analytics and data to building the experience and trust. And that takes me to the next panelist, to Mr. Chakra. So we talked about connected cars, connected home, wearable, ingestible, etc. How strong a future do you see in collaboration with InsurTech and building this new way of doing business?
I think that's an interesting one because I think a lot of that is in early stages.
Right.
So we have been hearing, I think, of these for the last few years. And globally, I think some of the developed nations have adopted them quicker. So I think they are coming to us. I think it's a matter of when. But I think as an insurance company, as a non-life insurance company, I think our focus is to be ready for it. So I think there are two key things and I think that's going to change how insurance gets done in the future. One, I think, is that each of these have sensors, and sensors mean they're streaming data. Think about Netflix, right? So it's like a car streaming data, or a home streaming data, or a factory or a machine streaming data. By whatever conservative estimates, that data is going to be 50 times larger than a typical policy claims data that insurance companies handle today, and probably 10 times larger than the digital data that we are currently producing, where, whether it's Facebook, Google. So I think the amount of data that's going to come at that is going to be significant. And all this data needs to be processed and actioned in real time. The second part, I think, is about customer, because customer is going to expect fully integrated and frictionless servicing and claims experience. Think about, you're sitting in a self-driving car and you get in an accident, right? You don't expect to call an insurance company or a garage. What you would want is the manufacturer or the insurance company to know that an accident has happened, send help for towing, repair, and maybe order a taxi to take you home. So that is a very, different expectations that customers will have. And I think insurance companies will require partnerships to deliver that experience to the customer, as well as leverage from the data that is going to be thrown at them. I think in some recent study that Accenture did, 60% of global executives surveyed said that they would build ecosystems to disrupt their own industry. So I think it is there to stay, and I think tech companies, insurtechs, will be particularly good at that, and they are already closer to the customer. So for insurers like us, to provide the end-to-end journeys to customers digitally, it will become an imperative to partner. And I think that decision needs to be taken very, it should be an informed decision, I think. There are places you want to build in-house. So for example, we set up a full-scale data science practice last year, and we are reaping the benefits of it. At the same time, there are partnerships that we have with insurtechs, also with other ecosystem partners, whether it's Paytm that we are using for selling our products. We are also partnering with Flipkarts, Amazons. So there are a whole plethora of partners and partnerships you need to have in place to deliver that experience. So I think it's going to be very critical that they all come together, because I think customer is the center of it, and their expectations have to be met to be able to kind of make progress in the space.
Thanks, Chakra. You brought a very good insight on the customer centricity piece of it. Now, let me extend this to Sanjay Karnatak. So customer centricity has been talked about for quite some time. How has technology helped in achieving the same? Over to you, Sanjay.
Thanks, Asim. Yeah, very important point. I think all of us in some form or other have talked about it. And this is not a new thing, as you're rightly saying, Asim. customer centricity is here since the industries are here and customers are, they are serving customers. But we have seen that as any industry matures up, the focus on customer increases, and it has to increase. Now, insurance is also moving in that direction, and we have seen it in the past couple of years. And of course, technology and digital transformations are aiding that. One survey from Datta puts customer experience as the key driver for the digital transformation happening across the world. So that in the survey it ranks at the top layer. So that's very clear that everybody is when they're transforming their digital ecosystem, they are looking at customer experience really seriously. Now, people, all insurers, for example, have been looking at consumers always. Now, if I go a little, say a few years back, if you talk about a consumer, you will be looking at it as a customer segment. But those days are passé, and now that particular consumer now has to be looked at as an individual, and that's where the as Ganessan expectation from the customer side is also like that. So, insurers will have to step up their game and ensure that the customer is at the center when they are designing any process or any digital transformation ecosystem. Now, talking about from a SUD standpoint, a couple of years back we started a very good initiative, and it's a completely unique initiative in the industry where we call them customer protection unit. When one of the problem in the industry is sometimes mis-selling is reported and stuff like that. So the idea was to send somebody to the customer with a physical copy of the insurance policy, and and ensure that there was no mis-selling there. And of course, when we started this initiative, this was backed by complete digital app and and the data which was based on some AI models, so that the guy is going there well informed, and the customer information is sought when he meets him. Additional data also comes in this process. So this process was designed completely keeping in the customer in mind. That is there a way, the question in front of us was, is there a way that we can reduce the comfort of customer as far as selling process is concerned? And we have seen amazing feedback from the customer that they really like the initiative. And we have seen, because of this, the grievances around the selling or the customer calls in the call centers regarding their sales have dramatically come down. And it's a win-win bargain, because we are also getting additional data about the customer when you go and meet him. And we can do so much more analysis based on that data for some other stuff later on. So this is like one example of the initiative which we designed keeping customer in mind. In similar fashion, whenever servicing, when it comes to servicing, past few years we have been servicing through our branches, which are not very large in number, like 120 odd branches. Now we have done the digital integration between us and the bank, and we are now moving the servicing to the bank counters. So look at the customer now has around 15,000 branches to get service from instead of just 150. So that's the potential we have as far as when we start thinking about the customer when in designing our processes. From a future direction point of view, when we talk about in the coming years, I feel that customer-centric products is where it's happening in some form and fashion already in the general insurance and health insurance space, where pay as you use kind of products, or in life probably pay as you live kind of products will come into play, where based on your usage, you pay the premiums, and I think the ecosystem around the regulatory ecosystem of a sandbox and all are available these days, and people can actually go ahead and experiment with some of these. I can see that this the product innovation, where based on the data which is coming, it's from the IoT devices which customers are gearing up to use, will enable the insurers to design such products which even in the life segment, which is a little bit laid back in these efforts, is such products which customer will be definitely personalized for a particular customer based on his usage. So that kind of
Yeah. Okay. Sure. So no, that's fine. Okay.
Oh, did I get disconnect?
No, that's fine, Sanjay. So,
yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, we can hear.
Sorry for that. So, continuing from where I was talking about product design and the onboarding processes, which right from the prospecting to actually fulfillment of his policy will be looked at with customer at the center. And on the servicing side, and as well as customer engagement side, where today, as we know, insurance is a space where the customer engagement is not too heavy, and you know, coming up with initiatives like some of the health companies are already doing, where incentivizing healthy behavior by the customer based on the variables. So those kind of initiatives will also, I think, gain traction in the coming days. So the idea is that from a product side, from a servicing side, from the onboarding processes side, all of us will have to think through and design the processes afresh, probably, or at least tweak them in a manner that the fulfillment of these processes really benefit the customer. So I think that's where we are directionally headed. And of course, to achieve that, as I was telling earlier, we definitely have the tools. We have AI, ML, or RPAs, or to aid this trend. But to top it all, I think we need to work upon our data integration as well as the core integration part, core modernization part, to enable all these initiatives to fulfill the customer demands.
No, thanks, Sanjay. And it is quite heartening to know, as customer of insurance products, that using our data, the industry is thinking to come up with new products and more engaging experience. Now, earlier, Mr. Chakra talked about the volume of data that is being generated, and also Mr. Ganessan talked about the hyper personalization part of it, and both of it require huge compute power. So let me move to Mr. Ganeshan. The current pandemic environment has forced the insurers to rethink the cloud and its adoption. How to approach the cloud transformation and how it has helped insurance companies to build new business models. Your thoughts, sir?
Thanks, Asim. I think I'll take the first one, which is COVID driving the cloud adoption? I think, unfortunately, unfortunately, I would tend to agree that that's the case actually. My viewpoint here is all of us are heavily invested in on-premise kind of model. It has been there for years, and we continue to invest on the on-premise. Our cloud presence earlier was primarily in terms of leveraging the ecosystem that was only available on cloud. For example, if you have to communicate or if you have to interface with WhatsApp, it was on cloud. If you have to interface with the bot APIs, and it was on cloud. And some of the startups which is coming up with some services on KYC or any of the ecosystem and all are on cloud. So our adoption to the cloud was very minimal and was oriented towards how do we leverage the ecosystem. That was the case prior to the COVID. All of a sudden, we were forced to a situation where we have to get the entire workforce working from home, and we have to get a kind of 100% of resources put onto some within overnight kind of thing. So we were pushed to a situation where a huge amount of resources had to be deployed, and that can be done properly on the cloud kind of thing. So I think that was once that particular thing was established, where we could do the work from home setup, where we could deploy the resources quickly. the other ecosystem around the security aspect and the security operations center where was also built around it. So I think I tend to agree that a situation like this made us doing in a different way. And now that the ecosystem is in place, the entire framework is in place, we can look at migrating the applications and migrating the entire compute power also onto the cloud. I think that's the way it is progressing. In terms of the second question on the approach, the way I think since we are invested heavily, I think the way we are looking at here is if you look at the comfort, if you are able to get the comfort around it, and if you are able to have a seamless transition around it, and the cost aspect is taken care, I think we have to look at an approach addressing all these areas. What I mean by that here is we can go ahead something like with the foundational components, which would the approach we are looking at here is do your foundational components first, which would have a kind of interface between the cloud and the on-premise model. For example, the resources between these two models can be leveraged. Once that particular thing is there, you may not really procure the required compute power on the cloud. You can procure everything on the cloud instead of procuring it on-premise, and can leverage whatever is there on the cloud. I think foundational component is the first thing I would recommend. I would suggest as the approach that one should look at. Second, here is you may also, because you have got the complete DC in place and you are progressing towards the cloud computing power, you may also look at something like gateways kind of thing, which is nothing but how do I leverage the resources between the on-premise and the cloud, and how do I leverage also the multi-cloud kind of options. I think the gateway really helps in giving the comfort that the resources can be leveraged between the various entities and all. And to give a comfort to the application team in terms of transitioning it seamlessly, I think we can look at something like a templatized way of managing the things. There can be templates which can say that if it's end of life, if it is customer facing, if it is internet facing, this is the template you can follow. So I think if we work on a templatized approach, it gives a kind of playbook to the entire team so that they can look at and then do the cloud approach quickly, and that approach will work very well also. And finally, the challenge that we are seeing here is, since we have been having, as you know, insurance is not in a box, in the sense insurance always requires around hundreds of applications and 15 different kind of stack. It's not just like unlike other players, we cannot see in a box kind of thing. So it comes with varied hardware, varied software kind of thing. But what is happening here is almost all the software, all the thing that is required for running the the end-to-end life cycle are all commoditized currently. So we can, the final approach can be like, how do we move the specialized hardware, specialized software to a commoditized kind of thing, and that particular thing can be taken to the cloud. It's a kind of seamless transition. I think if you look at from the comfort, seamless, and the cost aspect, and then doing a templatized way, that may be the right way of approaching to the cloud, and over a period of time we can seamlessly transition to the cloud. As anyone would agree that there is a huge compute power, it really gives a lot of flexibility, and with all the things available, we can even manage the security well and all. I think that's my view.
Thank you, Mr. Ganessan, and that's quite encouraging, and you have given a very pragmatic approach for transformation to cloud. Now, let me move to Mr. Rana Biswas, being a technology practitioner and also having an industry background. What are the biggest impediments in adoption of technology for driving innovation and growth that you see from the other side of the table?
Excellent. I think, Asim, the first, and I really believe in this, I think the first is the culture and the mindset of the organization across all levels that will act as a catalyst for driving the agenda for technology adoption. I think that's the key. So all functions, departments in the organization have to come together, take ownership, and collaborate to move the needle on technology adoption. Because this is not an issue of the CIO. It is everybody pulling in together and taking ownership and then driving this. I think that's the first impediment, or an issue which I have found, and I've come from the business, from the sales side. I worked in insurance from its inception, and now on the other side. Second, and Sanjay mentioned this a couple of times, is the legacy policy admin system that most of the insurers are saddled with right now, and this is since inception. So in this dynamic ecosystem, this is a major roadblock, and it impedes adoption across the value chain. Now, carriers are now implementing front-end solutions, as we know, but still rely on the legacy back-end system. So I think a modern PaaS is a growth engine of the insurer, whereas most of the insurers which are in the legacy PaaS. So legacy PaaS is just a system of records, nothing else. And insurance should now evaluate modernizing their PaaS. So a robust PaaS integrated with an equally versatile digital front end will deliver straight-through processing, as everybody has mentioned, provide superior customer experience and also a faster go-to-market strategy. So I think all this put together, you see, this adds to the kind of traction that we look into the efficiency and the productivity across the value chain. So, and the big barrier is the back-end policy admin system. That's what, several researchers have come out, Gartner, Novarica, any research you kind of come across, that is something which came across, because you can't have a great front-end system or a digital front-end tool with a legacy PaaS. Just doesn't, synchronize together. The third and last but not the least, I think this is a very sensitive topic. I think the over-dependence on cost-benefit analysis for all investment decisions on any IT transformation project or innovation project. Now, to my mind, I think the CBA is a must-have. It's a must-have, and I repeat this. But the organization should take a very long-term view for such projects. Now, from a matrix standpoint, there are a lot of tangible and intangible outputs that should be considered holistically, prior to taking a decision on any project. So it's all about balancing the equation of customer experience with productivity gains from technology adoption. I think the organization has to look at this in a very holistic sort of a angle. Now, a recent Celent report which got published, they actually interviewed 11 insurers across APAC, out of which 8 have done IT transformation project, major transformation project. However, only one CBA was positive. Now, it doesn't mean the rest of the CBA are really negative, but I think they took a call. It's like the tipping point. So when you have the tipping point and you come to that tipping point, the question is whether you want to take that leap of faith with a 50 or 60% decision, or shall I say informed decision, or you want to leave it there and say that, okay, let me also run for another 3 to 4 years. So I think these are the three major shall I say issues that I see, and we've been seeing not only in India but across the APAC market.
So thank you, Mr. Rana. So we are on time. So we'll have to wrap up this discussion. We could have continued on and on because it's such an engrossing thing. But there are 3 takeaways for which I would like to thank the panelists. It was a very insightful discussion. And 3 things which I saw: that you are willing to become the partner to business, number 1. You are not afraid to experiment, number 2. And number 3, you are very positive for the future. So thank you once again. And I hope the audience have taken this discussion. They could have taken a lot of inputs and insights from this. Thank you, everyone, and have a nice day.
Thanks, Asim.
Thanks.